Welcome to Knife Thoughts. This video is going to be on this knife, and this is the Otter Barlow from RoseCraft Blades. And so first of all, I wanted to thank Andy from RoseCraft Blades for sending this knife for me to check out, and mention that if you decide to get one of these RoseCraft Blades knives, you can get it at Traditional Pocket Knives and use code KT10 for a discount. You can also get them at RoseCraft directly. But this is a knife from RoseCraft that I was excited to see was coming out and that they were making, because it's another Barlow. And so I love Barlows. I am, a big fan of Barlow knives, have started and I'm in the Barlow Bearcat Club. So if you love Barlow knives, you can definitely check out the Barlow Bearcat Club. I have a link in the description where you can learn more about that. But Barlows are really my favorite pattern or type of traditional pocket knives. And RoseCraft Blades has already done a really nice Barlow. So they have the Beaver Creek Barlow here. This is one of the versions of the Beaver Creek Barlow. And this Otter Creek Barlow is a little bit different. So as you can see, it has more of a rounded top. So as compared to the Beaver Creek has a more square top. The Otter Creek has more of a rounded top, and it's similar size, but it's not exactly the same. Maybe slightly smaller, but that might just be my eyes. It might be about the same size and just a different design. But you can see that they both have these elongated bolsters, which is kind of the hallmark of a Barlow. A Barlow typically has a bolster that's 1/3 the length of the total handle, and these definitely fit that description. You can see that they both have bolster etches. These aren't stamped in like, maybe a more vintage Barlow might be, something like a GEC Barlow, like on the TC Barlows. But it is etched in, and I do like these bolster etches. So you can see the Beaver Creek has the RC for RoseCraft, but this Otter Creek has an otter paw. And so I wanted to talk real quick about another reason I was excited about this knife, and that is that I tell a story that I made up to my son about a great moose and an otter. So we were camping one time, and he was having trouble falling asleep. And so I made up a story about a great moose, and now there's several different kind of stories within the great moose mythology, as I call it. They're all kind of related to, animals, and in particular, the story that I made up about the great moose and an otter is a baby otter is stuck in river weeds and has lost its mama, and the great moose helps it get out of the river weeds and then finds the mama, and it's how the otter learns to slide. It slides down the great moose's nose. But anyway, it's just something that it kind of is a cool connection, and I'm hoping that, my son will enjoy this when he's a little older and everything. So I was excited to see this otter paw print on the bolster. Now, this knife has a clip point. So the Beaver Creek had a sheep foot. The Otter Creek has a clip point. It's a nice classic clip point. It is not the same as the, where is it here? Loosahatchee Jack. Wait, not Loosahatchee. No, Loosahatchee, yeah. So the Loosahatchee Jack from RoseCraft Blades. Andy specifically mentioned that, it's a different knife. It's not the same pattern. And you can see that pretty easily when you look at them. The Loosahatchee has a more square top and just a little bit of a different size to it, and certainly a different clip point. So you can see the Otter Creek has a longer clip to it and less big of a swedge. It's more of a it's like halfway between a cut and a drawn swedge, but it's a smaller swedge anyway. More abrupt belly on the Otter Creek, and a little bit less acute of a point, and a less tall blade also. So those are the differences there between the two blades on the Otter Creek and, again, the Loosahatchee. But it does have a very classic clip point blade, and and I found it to cut well. I think that these are ground nicely. The edge is it's a little bit toothy, to be honest, which I don't know that I'd noticed on other RoseCraft Blades knives, but honestly it cut great, and I didn't sharpen it because it was, you know, nice and sharp. That's one nice thing about these is, you know, unfortunately, unlike GEC knives and case knives, for me, GEC and case knives, you basically have to sharpen them when you get them if you're going to use them, because for GEC, the edges are super, super thick sometimes, especially towards the tip. And for case, they're just like extremely toothy. So, you know, I really appreciate that that's not the case on these. You can just use them right out of the box. Now I've mentioned this before, and this little kind of ghost mark from the sticker there that says China, I'm sure you can get that off with some flits, and Andy has said, like, yeah, that's gonna come right off, and I'm sure it would. I actually have not tried to like use you know, my sunshine cloth or something like that to take it off, but just one thing, you know, you might see that for a little bit unless you use a jeweler's cloth, or I don't know, some WD-40 or something like that would probably take it off. Maybe even a little bit of rubbing alcohol would take it off. But I have, you know, rubbed it and carried and used this knife, and you can still kind of see it there, but it's no big deal. Another thing I had a couple people in the Barlow Bearcat Club ask me is about the fact that the nail nick is pretty close to the pivot. So when the nail nick is close to the pivot, it means that it takes more force to open the knife, but it's actually not a problem at all. That was something I was a little bit interested if it was going to be a problem for me, but it's easy to open. Typically, you know, you could just get your thumbnail in there. These nail nicks are cut really nicely, and use the nail nick to half stop and then pinch it open. And honestly, I've found that it's pretty pinchable without using the nail nick too. So no issue with that really. This has beautiful covers. As you can see, this nice wood with a nice grain. I really like the look of the wood that RoseCraft Blades uses. They seem to get wood with nice grain, and I really appreciate that. It gives them a very traditional look and a very you know, a higher end look than you would think, being that these are pretty budget friendly. The pins are done well on the handles, as you can see. No cracks or anything that I've noticed. The transitions from the covers to the bolsters is done well. No gaps on the back spring. It is centered well. The tip sits well within the frame. No proud tip on this one, and it has a stop pin, so you don't have to worry about blade wrap. So really just another very nicely made knife from RoseCraft Blades. You can hear that snap. I'd say it's probably like a 6, maybe towards a 7 on the pull, but nice action, nice snap, no blade play. Just a really nicely built knife, a very classic Barlow, and again, I really do love the Otter paw print. So I think that RoseCraft Blades has another winner with this Otter Creek Barlow. I wanted to show you real quick a size comparison. So you already saw the, move these out of the way here, saw the Beaver Creek Barlow, and then I'll show you with the GEC 15, GEC 14, GEC 86, GEC, not GEC, Jack Wolf Knives, Midnight Jack, and I think that's all I pulled out Barlow wise. So you can see it's a pretty medium sized Barlow, definitely a little bigger than the 15, but a little smaller than the 86. So, you know, a nice medium size to it, and I think just a great size and, you know, design for a classic Barlow knife. So again, if you are going to pick one of these up, make sure you do it at Traditional Pocket Knives and use code KT10 for a discount, or get it straight from RoseCraft. But I appreciate the support if you go through traditional pocket knives. And if you've enjoyed the video, make sure you subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and select all so you know when I post new videos. Go to knifethoughts.com where I post articles on knives like this and knife-related topics, and subscribe via email to my newsletter. That's the best way to get all of the latest knife thoughts. And last but not least, as always, don't forget to go out and do good.